The first business I ever owned was a partnership I entered into with my brother Darren when I was 13 years old. I was 13, Darren was 14, and we wanted to make some income, but we were too young to get jobs at the time. So we decided to do what teenagers have done all across the country for many, many years. We decided to start our own lawn care business, that we were going to mow lawns and get paid to do that. We lived in a suburban community with hundreds of small lots with everyone had grass lawns. And so sounds great. Now, we never really agreed on the name of our business. I wanted to call it J&D Lawn Care after Jeff and Darren. He wanted to call it D&J Lawn Care. And we had a spiral notebook that we kept all our accounts receivable and accounts payable in, and we kept crossing out in the front. I would write J&D and he would write D&J. But we decided we're going to start this business. My dad said, hey, you guys can use my lawnmower. That's honestly the first business lesson here. That was it really our business if we were using a borrowed lawnmower? But I digress. So he said, hey, you can use my lawnmower, you can use my gas, get out there and mow some lawns, earn some money. So Darren and I had our first planning session. How are we going to grow this business? I said, well, we should make up some flyers and we'll go around the neighborhood. We'll knock on doors, we'll ring some doorbells, and we'll just talk to people about our service and see if we can line up some customers. Maybe people that'll hire us to mow their lawn every week, every other week, whatever. And Darren looks at me and he goes, And I go, what do you mean, He goes, I ain't going around knocking on doors and ringing doorbells. No way. I said, well, how else are we going to get new customers? He goes, I ain't doing it. Now Darren's gone on to be a very successful graphic artist and designer. He probably works with clients and strangers all the time, but back when he was 14 years old, he was shy and he was afraid to talk to people. And I said, well, how are we going to get customers if we don't go talk to people, Darren? He said, I'll make you a deal. If you go out and talk to all the strangers, ring the doorbells, knock on the doors, pass out the flyers, then I'll mow all the lawns. I said, you'll do all the lawn mowing if I go out and line up the customers. He goes, absolutely. I said, deal. We got a deal, man. And so I made up a flyer. This was honestly back when it's hard to get a hold of like a Xerox copier to make photocopies. My dad worked at General Motors and had access to a copier where you could take one sheet and turn it into an indefinite number of sheets. That was a new technology when I was a kid. And so my dad made copies of our flyers, and I guess at the time we could have gone to a printer and have them set something up on the printing press, but we just made some copies. So off I go around the neighborhood, knocking on doors, ringing doorbells, talking to people about J&D Lawn Care. And you know what? I signed up almost everybody to be a client. You know why? Because I was very aggressive on pricing. If somebody said no, I'd say, well, what do you think would be a fair price? And I really didn't care how low it went because, right, something is better than nothing. And I was still getting half of whatever we negotiated. So $10, it's a deal. $5 a week, okay. And so I go out and I sign up hundreds of customers for our lawn care business. And come back and tell Darren I got all these customers, and he honestly was excited about it. So the next day we start mowing lawns. Here's how the we worked. Darren and I would go. He'd push the lawnmower. I'd bring a lawn chair, and I'd sit there and drink a lemonade and read a book and manage while Darren mowed the lawns. And this was our deal, and it was working out great. Money was coming in, and we split the money. Well, one day, the government got involved. And I don't mean the federal government. I don't mean the state government. I mean our household government. My dad came home from work and said, hey, where's Darren and Jeff? Oh, they're out mowing. I remember the customer, Harry Fain. They're out mowing the Fain's lawn. And so, I'm going to stop down there and say, so my dad goes down there and I'm sitting in a chair reading a book. I might have even had an umbrella set up, a little bit of shade. And Darren's mowing the lawn, sweating like a pig. And my dad goes, so how does this work? Do you guys take turns mowing each lawn, half and half? Or does you do one lawn and Darren does the other lawn? I go, no, I don't mow lawns, Dad. He goes, what do you mean? I go, I work in sales. I got a white collar job here. My work's already done. He goes, what are you talking about? I said, me and Darren made a deal. If I go get all the customers, he'll mow all the lawns. I spent weeks going around the neighborhood, negotiating deals, talking to strangers, getting door slammed in my face, taking no's. And my work is done for the summer, and now it's Darren's turn to do his part. Well, what my dad did, my dad, by the way, was a great dad. He still is a great dad. I said that like he's gone. My dad's still living. I talk to him all the time. He's an amazing dad. But we have one point of contention from my childhood, and it's this one, that he did the wrong thing. I'm convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt he did the wrong thing here. He said, you know what? What you guys are doing isn't fair. I said, what do you mean it isn't fair? It was a deal we made. He made the offer to do it, and I accepted it. There's nothing more fair than that. He says, no, Jeff, you're taking advantage of your brother. I said, I'm not taking advantage of anybody. I did the hard part to him. He's doing the hard part for me. I don't want to mow the lawns. And we're working together. This is how companies work, Dad. My dad said, no, it's not fair. And he broke up our deal and tore up our verbal contract. And he said, from now on, you guys, Jeff, you need to mow half of the lawns. I swear he did the wrong thing. And, that's part of now that I'm a parent. I've tried to learn some lessons, and a lot of things my dad did, a lot of things, some things, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do a little bit differently. Because to this day, I believe the right thing to do would have been him to have a talk for Darren and say, Darren, you made a stupid deal. Next summer, be a little bit smarter. Maybe he could have negotiated a bigger percentage than just half, but he didn't. And so the rest of that summer, I was mowing those lawns, even though it was a total breach of our verbal contract. And the next summer, guess what? We didn't even want to work together anymore. And the whole business had been ruined, and now it's gone forever. What's the moral of the story? In my opinion, I believe this strongly. A deal is a deal, right? Whether it's a good deal or a bad deal, once you make a deal, I see these guys in the NFL that sign a contract, and then a year later, they're going to stay away from practice until they get a contract extension. And I'm like, hey, you're the one that made the contract. You're the one that signed the paper. I meet people all the time that complain about their jobs, and they complain about how much they get paid at their job, and they complain about the hours. And I ask them, I'm like, hey, aren't you the one who decided to work here? I do this with large audiences sometimes. I'm like, hey, show of hands if you applied to work here. You filled out an application. You wanted to work here. That you got called in for an interview, you showed up, were on your best behavior, and someone explained to you what the job paid, what the hours were, what the responsibilities were, and you took the job, right? That's how everyone got their job. And I'm like, show of hands if you were just shopping at Walmart one day and somebody threw a pillowcase over your head and shot you, drugged you, and you threw you in the trunk of a car and you woke up at your job with a uniform with your name on it. No! Right? If you choose to work somewhere, hey, yeah, try to get a raise. If you don't like working there, go work somewhere else that pays better or has better hours, right? Like advance in your career in whatever way you choose. But just to complain about the deals that you made, I don't think people understand what fairness is. There's another little business lesson that comes out of this too, that I learned some lessons about the gap I use this in my consulting now that I do for businesses all the time, that there's often a gap between the sales department and the operations department, right? Because part of the problem we found out is that I was offering prices that were too low because I didn't care because I wasn't doing the work. Darren, on the other hand, when he was mowing the lawns, he was doing a sloppy job and he didn't care because he didn't have to go back and talk to the customers. And so having departments, right? I used to work for a really big Fortune 500 company, and there was just these silos, these communication gaps between sales and research and development and marketing and finance to get all those people on the same page. And that's where senior management is supposed to come in and help make sure everything runs smoothly, not just be breaking up deals that were already deals. And so, Dad, if you see this, I'm sorry, I still disagree with you. You did the wrong thing. You're a great dad, but a deal's a deal. And there's nothing more fair than that.